Hey everyone, DisturbedShadow here. Today I'm going to be completing the Fet Signal discography for now. They've got another album in the works that will either come out sometime this year or next year, but until that time this will be the final video in the discography. So today we're going to be talking about their third album, their self-titled album, Threat Signal, which is what I consider to be a step forward from the last album. It's quite different than the last two albums. It's got some elements from both, but it's doing a good job of what Threat Signal continues to do, which is to not make the same album twice. Each one's different in their own unique way, and they're all good in their own unique way. And this one is no different. So let's jump in and talk about the self-titled album from Threat Signal. So, I'll start off, the opening track, Uncensored, is one of my favorite Threat Signal tracks. It's actually the first song I ever heard from them. I was just listening to Pandora and this song came out. I was like, what is this? This is so good. This was a few years ago now. It's when I first got exposed to them, and I ended up purchasing this song just by itself from iTunes, and then later on I came back, got the whole album when I started really getting into this band, when I got all their albums, and just this song just it first introduced me to Threat Signal. It's just a really good song. It's fast, it's heavy, it's chunky and chuggy on the riffs, and it's just so good. And there's just this really awesome singing part in the middle, sandwiched between two really heavy screaming parts. It's just a really cool proggy type of song where it's constantly changing throughout the whole thing. It just has this real heaviness to it. And Jon really shows off his vocal range. He's got these really low growls and these really high screams that he alternates between constantly. It just sounds really good. And then the song just ends with this really awesome melodic guitar bit that's sort of jumping from sort of low to high. It's just really cool how it works. And I just the way the guitarists, I'm not sure which one of them, it was Travis or Chris who did this part. I'm assuming Travis since he's listed as the lead guitarist. But the way you would have to move your fingers around on the guitar to play this melodic part is pretty complex, so props to him for that. It's just really good technical melodic guitar playing, and just a really cool way to end the song. Track number 2, Comatose, which is another song I had heard a lot on Pandora previously, which first got me into this band. It's just this really short, heavy, chuggy song, and Jon really shows off his vocals on this track. He just has these great alternations between really low growls and these really high-pitched screams that he's known for. It's just, it goes together really nicely, and then it's got a really catchy sort of chorus that pulls you into the song. It's just a really good song. Track number 3, New World Order. This is another really sort of proggy song. It's got a lot of different elements and it's constantly changing as it goes along. And what I really like about this song is that this gets really heavy at the end, and then it breaks into this really melodic guitar playing. It's just really awesome playing. It's just, I like how they have these songs where they just have these really amazing melodic technical bits throughout them, and there's just a lot of moments where they end songs with them, and it's just really awesome. It just leaves you at the end of the song going, wow, that just happened. Track number 4, Trust in None, which is another personal favorite of this album. It's just so good. It's got this really heavy beginning part, and then about halfway through the song it just breaks into this really amazing solo that has these like slow melodic bits and then these more fast harmonized bits that it just alternates between them and the solo. And then it breaks off into this really melodic singing part where Jon really shows off his clean singing. And it's just got that extra grit behind it too, to just give it that extra punch in the face. It's just really good. And then this amazing melodic technical bit just comes in about partway through that, and it's just so good. And just an amazing way to end the song. It's really one of the best tracks on the album. Track number 5, Face the Day, is another one that just comes in swinging heavy at the beginning, and then towards the end it pulls back and shows off Jon's singing voice, and there's these cool melodic guitar bits. It's just really cool how it progresses from this heavy thing to this slower, pulled back, more melodic type of thing, which is something Threat Signal is very good at doing. And I'm pretty much going through all the tracks because they all have really good things going on in them. Track number 6, Fallen Disciples, just has this really cool melodic bit at the beginning, and it just has this really awesome build up to the chorus, and then it breaks down to some really heavy stuff, and then it builds back up again. And then at the end it's got these really chuggy bits mixed with some cool melodic playing. Just really cool combination of lead and rhythm guitars there. Track number 7, Disposition, is another really proggy song. And it starts off as probably one of the heaviest tracks on this album. It's got this really heavy, really fast part that sort of builds up to a big melodic chorus. It's just so good. And then the second half of the song, it slows down, there's clean guitars come in, and Jon does this really stripped down, clean singing, no grit at all. It's just really melodic. And that builds up to this melodic solo, and then Jon brings in his like heavy sort of growly type singing that is just really melodic at the same time. It's just a really cool way to end the song. It just has these really powerful lyrics in that part that sort of really speaks to the listener. Track number 8, Death Before Dishonor. This song is really heavy, but it starts off with this cool, like, clean acoustic intro before getting into these really heavy riffs, and it's just these really fast technical riffs throughout the whole song. And then it ends with this really heavy, crunchy ending part that's just really in your face. Track number 9, Buried Alive, which is the last track on the standard version of the album. It's just a really interesting song. It's more slowed down, and it's got these really groovy, sort of genty type of riffs that are just really catchy, and then it has a really cool layers of singing throughout the chorus. And then what I find really interesting about this track is after the first chorus, there's a part where it's just instrumental, and there's just this, like, I don't know, like 1 minute soundbite from a famous JFK speech about government secrecy, and I just think that's an interesting choice, but it works really well in this song. And then it gets heavy again, and then towards the end there's this cool melodic fade out bit as it fades to the end of the album, which is a really cool way to end the album. Now I do want to talk about the 10th track, the iTunes bonus track, Resistance, which I think should have been included on the standard version of the album. It's just not at the end like it is on the bonus version, because Buried Alive is just such a good way to end this album. But Resistance is still a very good song, and it really should have been included on the album, especially since they only have this one bonus track. And the album is kind of short as it is already, but I think squeezing it in between Death Before Dishonor or Buried Alive, or playing it close to the beginning of the album, right after Comatose and between Comatose and New World Order, would have been a good spot to put it. It's just this cool song. It's got these really groovy riffs, and then it has this really catchy chorus that really shows off Jon's talent again. So, I've talked about all the all the tracks on this album because they're just so good. So let's just jump in and talk about some things that the actual band members are doing that makes this album so good. And I think they really got a really tight lineup on this album. Now, Jon Howard on vocals. This guy is doing an amazing job, as he always does on these albums. He's just got an incredible range, from low screams to high screams to just gritty, heavy singing to the more pulled back melodic singing. He can do it all, and he does an amazing job of doing it. Just so much good stuff happening on the vocal end of things. So, Jon Howard is doing a fantastic job, as always. And now let's talk about the guitars. Of course, Travis Montgomery is returning on lead guitar, but they do have a new rhythm guitarist, Chris Feener, and they pair really well on this album. It's just really heavy, chuggy, heavy riffs that are just all over this album. These groovy, genty style riffs and the more technical, melodic, crazy soloing and melodic bits and harmonized bits. And there's just all over this album. It's so good. The guitar playing is miles ahead of where they were on their last album. And I wouldn't say it's better than on Under Reprisal, but it's very different. Their playing style is quite different than the two guitarists they had on that album. But both albums have really fantastic guitar playing, and they're good for different reasons. There's just all these cool melodic stuff happening on the guitar and the things on this album, and they just do an amazing job throughout the whole thing. There's all these crazy stuffs like Uncensored, New World Order, Face the Day, Trust in None, where they just have all these amazing melodic bits and all these insane heavy rhythm riffs throughout the whole album. They just do an amazing job. Pat on bass, he's back again. So they're getting a more stable lineup. He's doing a good job. He's not doing anything different or deviating too much from what the guitars are doing, but the guitars are doing some pretty impressively technical stuff, and he's keeping along with that and doing all this technical bass playing that fits along with what the guitars are doing. It's kind of hard to hear at times without headphones, but it's definitely there, and it's giving the guitars that extra meaty sound to them, and it's just all comes together really nicely. New drummer, Alex Rüdinger, I'm butchering that name, on drums. He's their best drummer yet, so far that I've seen on these albums. There's just all this crazy technical drumming and fast drumming and mixing it up with all these cools and blast beats and all this stuff, and it just comes together really nicely. It's just really intense, fast-paced drumming, but it's always just what the songs need. And there are moments like on Disposition where the guitars and stuff slow down, where he pulls it back a bit, does more simplistic drumming, but it's still really technical at the same time. Like I said, it always fits in perfectly with what the rest of the band is doing. It just comes together really nicely. So overall, these guys have great chemistry together. They're finally starting to get a really stable lineup, and they're really learning how to work with each other. It's just coming together to be a super good album. So after this album, I'm really excited to see where they go on their new album whenever that comes out. I've just been waiting for that album for a long time. Just really good musicianship, and I can't wait to see where this band goes next. So that does it for this discography. I'm going to be starting another one relatively soon, and I'm also going to be reviewing some more new albums as they come out. But anyway, as always, you can like the video if you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more of them, you can subscribe to go check out the rest of my reviews. And I will see you guys next week with another album review.